On July 8, 2022, the world watched in shock as one of Japan's most influential leaders fell victim to an unthinkable act of violence. Shinzo Abe, Japan's longest-serving prime minister, was gunned down during a campaign speech. But who was this man? What drove him to power, and why did his life end so tragically? Was it politics, conspiracy, or something darker? Born on September 21, 1954, in Tokyo, Shinzo Abe grew up in a household steeped in politics, a legacy that would shape his destiny from an early age. He was born into one of Japan's most prominent political families, with roots tracing back to the tumultuous era of World War II. His grandfather, Nobusuke Kishi, loomed large over Abe's upbringing. A controversial figure, Kishi served as Japan's prime minister from 1957 to 1960 and played a pivotal role in rebuilding the nation after its devastating defeat in 2008 World War II. Before becoming prime minister, Kishi had been imprisoned as a Class A war crimes suspect during the Allied occupation for his involvement in wartime policies. However, he was never tried and went on to become a key architect of Japan's post-war economic recovery. To young Shinzo, his grandfather was both a source of inspiration and a symbol of resilience. A man who rebuilt not just his own reputation, but also the country itself. Abe's father, Shintaro Abe, continued the family tradition, serving as Japan's foreign minister before his untimely death in 1991. Growing up in this environment, Shinzo was surrounded by discussions of diplomacy, policy, and national pride. It wasn't just politics that defined him, it was also his close-knit family. In 1987, Abe married Akie Matsuzaki, a charismatic woman known for her independent spirit and outspoken views. Unlike many traditional political spouses, Akie often challenged societal norms, advocating for causes like organic farming and LGBT+ rights. Though they did not have children, their marriage became a unique blend of tradition and modernity, a reflection of Abe's ability to balance old values with new ideas. Beyond politics, Abe had a quieter side. Friends recall him as someone who enjoyed hobbies such as golf and karaoke, activities that revealed a more relaxed, human dimension to his otherwise disciplined public persona. These pursuits offered him moments of escape from the pressures of leadership. After graduating from Seikei University, where he studied political science, Abe embarked on a transformative journey abroad. He attended the University of Southern California, immersing himself in American culture and gaining a broader perspective on global affairs. Yet, despite the allure of international opportunities, Abe always felt a deep pull toward Japan. He saw himself as a custodian of his family's mission to restore Japan's strength, dignity, and influence on the world stage. From his grandfather's lessons about perseverance to his father's dedication to public service, Shinzo Abe's path was paved long before he stepped onto the political stage. But it was his own determination and the weight of expectation that propelled him forward, setting the stage for a career that would leave an indelible mark on Japan's history. Shinzo Abe officially entered the world of politics in 1982, following in his family's footsteps. He began as a secretary to his father, Shintaro Abe, who served as Japan's foreign minister during a critical period of post-war diplomacy. For Abe, this role was more than just a stepping stone. It was a crash course in the intricacies of international relations and domestic policy. But tragedy struck in 1991 when Shintaro Abe passed away unexpectedly, leaving behind unfinished ambitions and a void in Japanese politics. Abe believed deeply in the idea of a stronger, more assertive Japan. To him, politics wasn't just about governance, it was about restoring national pride and redefining Japan's place on the global stage. Growing up under the shadow of his grandfather, Nobusuke Kishi, who fought tirelessly to revise Japan's pacifist constitution, Abe inherited a vision that went beyond economic prosperity. He wanted Japan to shed its post-war identity as a passive nation and emerge as a leader, one capable of shaping regional and global affairs. He returned to power in 2012 with renewed vigor, determined to implement transformative policies. Central to his agenda was Abenomics, a bold economic strategy aimed at revitalizing Japan's stagnant economy. The plan consisted of 3 arrows: aggressive monetary easing, flexible fiscal policy, and structural reforms. While Abenomics showed promise initially, boosting stock markets and corporate profits, it also faced criticism for failing to address income inequality and demographic challenges posed by Japan's aging population. Beyond economics, Abe sought to strengthen Japan's geopolitical standing. He forged close ties with world leaders, including US President Donald Trump, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and even Russia's Vladimir Putin. With Trump, Abe cultivated a warm friendship, often seen playing golf together or exchanging playful banter. Their bond helped stabilize US-Japan relations during a time of uncertainty. With Modi, Abe championed the concept of a free and open Indo-Pacific, promoting regional cooperation and countering China's growing influence. And with Putin, despite their ideological differences, Abe pursued dialogue in hopes of resolving long-standing territorial disputes over the Kuril Islands, a goal that remained elusive but underscored his commitment to diplomacy. On July 8, 2022, just after 11:30 a.m. local time, Shinzo Abe arrived at Yamato Saidaiji Station in Nara to deliver a campaign speech for Kei Sato, a fellow Liberal Democratic Party candidate running in the upcoming parliamentary elections. As he stood near a busy intersection, surrounded by supporters and passers-by, Abe began addressing the crowd with his trademark passion and charisma. At exactly 11:33 a.m., tragedy struck. Tetsuya Yamagami, a 41-year-old former member of Japan's maritime self-defense force, emerged from the crowd wielding a homemade firearm disguised as a camera. Positioned less than 5 meters behind Abe, Yamagami fired 2 deafening shots. The first bullet narrowly missed its mark, but the second struck Abe directly in the neck, severing arteries and causing catastrophic internal injuries. Witnesses described chaos erupting as blood pooled on the pavement and bystanders rushed to aid the fallen leader. Despite being rushed to Nara Medical University Hospital, Abe succumbed to his wounds hours later, leaving a nation and the world in shock. The scene itself raised troubling questions about security protocols. Astonishingly, there were only 4 bodyguards present at the event, a stark contrast to the tight protection typically afforded to former heads of state. Moreover, none of them had positioned themselves directly behind Abe, leaving him vulnerable to attack. Security experts later pointed out that Japanese political culture often prioritizes accessibility over stringent safeguards, making it easier for someone like Yamagami to approach undetected. Yamagami wore nondescript clothing, a gray t-shirt and dark pants, blending seamlessly into the crowd. His calm demeanor before the shooting suggested meticulous planning rather than impulsive action. Investigators revealed that he had spent months preparing for the assassination, constructing the makeshift weapon using materials purchased online. The device, which resembled a pair of stacked boxes, was powerful enough to pierce through Abe's body despite its crude appearance. During interrogation, Yamagami confessed that his motive was deeply personal. He blamed Abe for his family's financial ruin, claiming they were bankrupted by excessive donations made to the Unification Church, a controversial religious organization often referred to as the Moonies. Yamagami's mother had reportedly given millions of yen to the group, plunging the family into debt and straining their relationship. While no direct evidence linked Abe to the church, his ties to prominent members fueled Yamagami's resentment, ultimately driving him to target the former prime minister. The Unification Church has long been a source of controversy in Japan, accused of exploiting followers through coercive fundraising tactics. Following Abe's assassination, public outrage erupted, prompting investigations into the church's activities and its connections to high-profile politicians. Many questioned whether Abe's support for certain policies indirectly benefited the organization, further complicating the narrative surrounding his death. In July 2023, Tetsuya Yamagami was formally charged with murder and other crimes. Prosecutors argued that his actions constituted premeditated violence, warranting severe punishment under Japanese law. If convicted, Yamagami faces life imprisonment or even the death penalty, a rare but possible outcome given the gravity of the crime. His trial has sparked intense debate across Japan, raising critical questions about mental health, societal pressures, and the unchecked influence of religious groups in politics. Despite Yamagami's detailed confession, conspiracy theories have persisted, casting doubt on the official narrative. Some claim Abe was assassinated because he defied global elites, refusing to comply with directives from organizations like the World Economic Forum, WEF, or implement strict COVID-19 mandates.
Priorities for the global agenda. We must continue to fight against the global pandemic. We must revitalize the global economy and accelerate its transition to net zero.
Others speculate that his push for constitutional reform, which included revising Article 9 to expand Japan's military capabilities, made him a target for both domestic and international adversaries. One theory suggests that the assassination was orchestrated to destabilize Japan's political landscape ahead of crucial elections. Another posits that rogue elements within intelligence agencies sought to silence Abe due to his close ties with Western leaders, particularly Donald Trump and Narendra Modi. While these claims lack concrete evidence, they highlight the deep divisions and mistrust simmering beneath the surface of modern geopolitics. Ultimately, the truth remains shrouded in mystery. What we know for certain is that Shinzo Abe's untimely death exposed vulnerabilities, not just in Japan's security apparatus, but also in the fragile balance between democracy, religion, and power. Since Abe's tragic passing in July 2022, Japan has been navigating uncharted waters. While his successor, Fumio Kishida, pledged to continue many of Abe's initiatives, critics argue that the nation lacks Abe's bold vision and transformative energy. The absence of such a dominant figure has left a void in Japanese politics, raising questions about whether anyone can truly step into his shoes. Economically, the mixed legacy of Abenomics looms large. Launched in 2012, Abe's signature policy aimed to revive Japan's stagnant economy through aggressive monetary easing, fiscal stimulus, and structural reforms. Dubbed the Three Arrows, these measures initially showed promise, boosting stock markets, driving corporate profits, and creating jobs. However, they also failed to address deeper structural issues, such as Japan's aging population, shrinking workforce, and widening income inequality. His reforms had promise, but they weren't enough to fully revive Japan's aging population and shrinking workforce. Without addressing demographic challenges head-on, any economic recovery will remain fragile. Internationally, however, Abe left a lasting mark. He redefined Japan's role on the global stage, transforming it from a passive participant into an active leader. One of his most notable accomplishments was strengthening ties with the United States during a period of uncertainty. His close friendship with former US President Donald Trump helped stabilize US-Japan relations at a time when Washington's commitment to alliances in Asia was being questioned. Their bond, sealed over rounds of golf and shared meals, became a symbol of trust and cooperation. Even with Russia's Vladimir Putin, Abe sought dialogue, hoping to resolve long-standing territorial disputes over the Kuril Islands, a goal that remained elusive but underscored his willingness to engage even with adversarial leaders. Under his watch, Japan also joined the Trans-Pacific Partnership, TPP, positioning itself as a key player in global trade, despite the withdrawal of the United States under Trump. But Abe's departure has raised concerns about whether Japan can sustain this level of diplomatic engagement. Fumio Kishida, though competent, lacks Abe's charisma and personal connections with world leaders. Some fear that without Abe's steady hand, Japan may struggle to maintain its momentum in shaping regional and global affairs. At home, Abe's absence has sparked renewed debate about his controversial stances. For instance, his push to revise Article 9 of Japan's pacifist constitution to allow for greater military autonomy remains a polarizing issue. Supporters argue that a stronger defense posture is necessary to counter threats from North Korea and China, while opponents worry it could lead Japan down a path toward militarism. Similarly, his ties to groups like the Unification Church have cast a shadow over his legacy, fueling calls for greater transparency in politics. Public protests against Kishida's administration reflect growing frustration with entrenched systems and perceived elitism. Many feel that Abe's era prioritized big-picture goals at the expense of everyday citizens' needs, particularly those in marginalized communities. Yet despite these criticisms, there's no denying that Abe's influence continues to shape Japan's trajectory. Whether it's his efforts to boost tourism ahead of the postponed Tokyo Olympics, or his advocacy for women's empowerment through initiatives like Womenomics, his fingerprints are everywhere. As Japan grapples with the challenges of the 21st century, from climate change to geopolitical tensions, it must decide how much of Abe's vision to carry forward and where to chart a new course. Shinzo Abe remains a polarizing figure whose legacy continues to spark debate. To some, he was a visionary who restored Japan's confidence on the global stage, revitalizing its economy, strengthening alliances, and championing bold initiatives like the free and open Indo-Pacific strategy. His charisma and determination inspired millions. Yet others criticize his controversial stances. His push to revise Article 9 of Japan's pacifist constitution sparked fears of militarism, while visits to Yasukuni Shrine strained relations with neighbors. Ties to groups like the Unification Church also raised questions about transparency in politics. Abe's assassination shocked Japan and the world, underscoring the fragility of democracy and the risks faced by public figures. In the days following his death, thousands paid tribute, leaving flowers and messages of gratitude. For many, it was a moment to reflect on his resilience, ambition, and faith in Japan's future. He believed deeply in Japan's potential. Even when faced with setbacks, he never gave up. He saw himself as a custodian of his family's legacy, determined to leave behind a stronger nation. Abe's story is one of legacy and duality. Born into a political dynasty, he balanced honoring his family's dreams with forging his own path. While he leaves behind tangible achievements, strengthened alliances, renewed pride, he also leaves unanswered questions about tradition, security, and accountability. These tensions will shape Japan's future. As the sun sets over Mount Fuji, a symbol of resilience, we are reminded of the impermanence of life and the lasting impact of those who dare to lead. Shinzo Abe's journey ended tragically, but his vision for Japan lives on.
But now we're out of sight of the police. So, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh! Roller coaster.
I saw nothing.
警察がいなかったのでちょっと見せたんで